Hello again, my name is Brain Smasher, coming at you today with an album review of a new album. It's a new release by a band called Emptiness. The album is called Not For Music. This came out on Seasons of Mist about 2 or 3 weeks ago or so. I don't have a copy of it yet, so I'm actually waiting for it to come. But I was just so intrigued by it that I thought I would share my thoughts on it with you. You've probably seen Josh Armijo's rundown of the album, and actually that was where I think probably the second place I heard of it, but I kept hearing a little bit more and more about it, and I was a little bit intrigued, and I did remember being somewhat intrigued by the band's prior album, which came out a couple of years ago, and I think it was called Nothing, if I'm not mistaken. But this album is really, really interesting, and I thought about doing a review of it, and I thought, is it redundant if I do a review of an album that Josh, Runner JMA, already did a review of? But so I kind of just mulled it around in my head over about a week or so, and I just couldn't talk myself out of it. So here we are. So it's, like I said, it's kind of, I guess the band started out as a metal band, and there are a lot of the elements of metal are kind of there, but they've been kind of decaying as the band further progresses into what they are now. And so it's not necessarily a very heavy record, and I wouldn't necessarily say either that it's a very musical record. And in fact, I kind of toil with myself about what I think of the album, and for a while I wasn't sure if I really was into it. And I still, I'm more fascinated with the album than I am, getting out of the album, because I'm so used to getting just such musical, complex, challenging material out of albums that I listen to. And this one just, musically, if you really took out all the production value and all the strange instrumentation, it would be a very simplistic, musically, album to listen to. So, it definitely does rely quite a bit on the atmosphere and the brilliant production that was put into this thing. The Geordie from Marilyn Manson recorded the album. I don't really know much about what his style of recording is, but I think it's very well done. And actually it was produced and mixed by somebody, I'm not sure what their name is, who has worked on Guns N' Roses albums. So I don't know, I guess I would assume that it seems like Seasons of Mist is putting a lot of money into this album. I'm not really aware of how big of a band this really is, but that doesn't really matter. It's just, I think that those facts were kind of interesting to me, because it does show that someone with some experience is putting some artistic effort into this album, and it shows. It's definitely something mature atmospherically, but anyways, it's kind of I guess futuristic in a way. The vocals are very ethereal, kind of robotic. It's kind of hard to imagine that a human really is singing these lyrics. It's more spoken. It's just kind of like an intense spoken robotic sort of vocal. It does rely heavily on a vocal effect, which is pretty captivating. Guitars are really big, booming, loud, but clean guitars. I wouldn't say there's really any high-pitched or distorted tones on this. In a way, the album kind of reminds me of Bluthaus Nord's Mort album. That album was just like a lot of crazy, clean tones just kind of floating about and converging endlessly, which this album kind of tends to do. Drumming is actually pretty intricate and interesting. I found myself just kind of distracted by the drumming going on to it. But overall, it's just a fascinating album that I'm interested in delving into. And so I gave it a couple of listens, like in my car, I want to say, and I have like a little Bluetooth speaker and I listened to it there, and I was like, okay, I get it, but it definitely isn't really offering me much of anything musically. But then last night, I listened to it on headphones, and I listened to it, I think, once before on headphones as well. But that's really where the album shines, if you're able to take in the full fidelity that the album has to offer. And there, the music, the volume of the music kind of finds me anyways, so that I can enjoy it musically. Another album that this Emptiness album reminds me of is Dotheimsgard's 666 International. When that came out, it was, to me anyways, groundbreaking, futuristic music. It seemed to be coming out of some completely unidentifiable area to Earth and finding my ears. It just blew me the fuck away. And I wouldn't say this is blowing me away or anything, and I love Dotheimsgard's album quite a bit more than this. However, this just comes out of nowhere, and I really think it's fascinating how forward-thinking and progressive this album is, and how they kind of find new ways of cascading intensity with almost like a peaceful calm. It's kind of like it offers this peacefulness, but it's kind of unnerving in a way. It's really offering some new style of atmospheric that I've not heard in much music. One of the things I've been noticing about a lot of newer, popular, more modern music is it seems like we're headed in a direction where we're seeking a lot more clarity and a lot more space between the elements of music, so that I guess minimalism is another way to put it, relying on an ethos of less is more to achieve artistic clarity. And this definitely falls along those lines, and I don't know, I wanted to suggest listening to it because it has a lot of interesting things that I've never heard before in music, and it's kind of exciting to hear something so original. I get lost in a lot of traditional black metal, death metal, thrash kind of avenues, and that's fun to listen to old school stuff. But at the end of the day, I think the kind of music and the kind of metal that I get the most out of is something that just blows me away from out of nowhere. Something that just steps so far beyond the boundaries and the genres and the expectations but still makes sense and clicks with me in a way. Really, I just think music can't offer me much of anything more than that. Bands like, Virus, Vedboen's End, Dotheimsgard, things like that. Those are the kind of things that I just cherish so much because I feel so connected with those albums because of how distant they are from everything else in a way. So, and this kind of harkens to that sort of feeling that I get from those albums, and so I've been really enjoying it, and I hope you should check it out. By the way, we're listening to it in the background, if you can't tell. But go ahead and give it a listen. I'll put a link in the description for you to listen to it, see what you think, let me know what you think, and also if you have any ideas for something you'd like to hear me review, go ahead and let me know. I'd like to hear it. I'll consider it. I'm not going to make any promises. But yeah, I hope to try and keep on offering reviews of albums on a weekly basis. So check out Emptiness's Not For Music on Seasons of Mist. Just came out a couple of weeks ago. Highly interesting, and this might be on my year-end list. We'll kind of see. I found it a challenging release at first. I didn't want to like it, but I kept coming back to it, and I couldn't put it down, and I think I'm finally coming around to it. So if at first you find that you don't get it or you find it uninteresting, I challenge you to try listening to it again and again and again maybe, and see if it really does anything for you, because that's the way it happened for me, and I'm glad that I kept on listening to it and came around to it. I think I'm finally accepting it, and I think, even going forward, in a couple of weeks, I'm just going to be maybe head over heels for this record. Who knows? Yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.